what's happened to George? Like, because I think we saw last year he, he beat Lewis in Brazil. On his day, he could be up there and fight toe to toe with Lewis. Did outscore Lewis over the course of the season, which didn't tell the full story. But what's happened this year? Because it just seems to have fallen off a bit of a cliff.
Yeah, we've seen a big old drop off in consistency, haven't we, from George? I think that was the one thing I was really impressed with him last year. Obviously, I know Lewis. There was reasons why Lewis was inconsistent at times at the start of last year. It was because he was testing a lot of stuff for Mercedes, had a lot more weight on the car. Fair enough. But George was putting in consistent performances. Yeah. You'd see him in the top 5 pretty much. I think, there was that record, wasn't there, where he finished in the top 5.
Up until Silverstone with a crash with Joe, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was always... And I think really throughout his entire career as a whole, I've always seen that as a strong point with George, is consistency. Mr. Saturday. He's always there. He'll always maximise what he can out of the car, I feel. But since about Miami time, it just seems to be in qualifying as well.
Yeah,
it's a big issue.
Yes.
You've seen Baku, I think he struggled either in the sprint or in normal quali. Obviously, which quali was it where he's like 18th on the grid recently?
There was the one in Hungary. He got caught out.
He got caught out by traffic though as well.
Yeah. Which was kind of
fault.
I mean, again, he's kind of the head of the GPDA, the Grand Prix Drivers Association. So I think when it comes to like queuing up to start a lap, he's going to like abide by the rules somewhat, I think kind of caught him out there because everyone else was like every man for themselves jumping ahead of him. I think as well, like maybe this is the issue, right? Because every other team apart from Red Bull has had to somewhat change their direction in order to find this path that Red Bull started on and have continued on, and they haven't deviated. Like if you look at the Red Bull at the start of last season and the Red Bull now, like fundamentally it hasn't changed a huge amount. Yes, of course, there's been slight modifications to the side pods and that, but they're broadly speaking been on the right direction, whereas George has had to... both him and Lewis were really struggling with the car last year.
Yeah, do you reckon a Mercedes is the car that's probably changed the most of any car, just fundamentally,
maybe
since the start of last year?
I think the Williams has changed a lot as well, because that was very similar to the Mercedes.
Yeah.
Because they started with like those no side pods.
They just changed it a lot quicker than Mercedes did.
And you can see with the Mercedes how they're having to, like, it's got the... like in order to get the crash structure in, they've still got the little where they've got the new side pods, but they've still got them little kind of fins that kind of stick out at the front. And you can see it feels like a bit of a compromise. And ultimately,
it's like a little Frankenstein car. To put like lots of different ideas together.
And literally, like even now with the cost cap, when you look at it up close, you can see all the different carbon weaves, and it's quite kind of messy because you can't afford to just, like Mercedes would have been in the past, to just create a whole new side panel. They've got to kind of retrofit what they've already got.
Yeah.
Which I don't fundamentally dislike that. I just think that, I still think Mercedes consistency, given all of the issues, given they've gone through like from one side pod philosophy to an entire different one, and Lewis feels too far front in the car, whatever, all these issues that the drivers have, for Mercedes to still be consistently at least the third quickest car. I think they've been consistent over the course of this entire season, at least the third quickest. Yes, there's been Aston Martin was quicker than them at the start.
Yeah.
Ferrari have been quicker than them at times. McLaren have been kind of in certain conditions.
Recently, yeah.
But like Mercedes have always been up there.
Yeah.
So I do think they are, when it comes to, Lewis and his future at the team, I still think they're his best shot.
I agree.
To Red Bull.
Oh, I mean, ultimately, the championship doesn't lie. He's third in the standings right now, and I think Fernando Alonso obviously had been there for a while because of that strong start to the season. But since the Aston Martin drop off, you're right. Mercedes have been the most consistent package to deliver like good scoring points positions. I think you're right. If Lewis is thinking of trying to get that 8th championship at some point over the next couple of years, there's no, my stance on Ferrari and like delivering consistently. They've been a bit better recently, but that once they're in a title fight, something will go wrong. Aston Martin have dropped off. McLaren, fine. They've just arrived back on the scene with some strong performances.
Yep.
But they seem to have a locked-in driver pairing for a while. Lando and Oscar both young.
Yep.
They could deliver.
And they should hopefully give Lando the confidence that, I can hopefully bank on this team with
the
new management in charge and all that to actually be something that can offer him a title charge.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you are Lewis right now and you're thinking, right, cool, want to go for a title charge in like the next 2 years, I think Mercedes is probably the place to stay right now. Even though I would love a silly season that involves Lewis at some point since like 2013.
Yeah.
That would be great. If you could just make that happen at some point. It's been a while.
Again, those Ferrari rumors that come up every year, that I would not be surprised if that comes from like Lewis's team somewhat, right? Internally.
Yeah, just being like
planting those seeds, just for extra negotiation.
Do you want a pay rise, Lewis?
Yeah.
Obviously, we can sort that out. Oh yeah, he's actually really loves red. His favourite colour is red, and just put that out in the media. Boom, just sorted.
Yeah, Alfa Romeo.
He's going to Italy on holiday.
Wow, that's confirmed.
That's all I'm saying, mate. That's all I'm saying. He's going to Como.
Lake Como's lovely.
It's a beautiful place. I've
heard good things. I've heard very good things. Well, because
Lewis.
Apparently so. How do you reflect on though Spa? Because obviously, if we're talking about the next half of this season, 10 races, and Red Bull seemed to, yes, I think Spa played to their strengths, which when you're strong everywhere makes it so ominous.
We looked at a graph before before we started recording, and it basically shows like a performance profile of every element, I guess, that goes into overall car speed.
Yep. Shout out Blake, by the way.
Yeah, shout out Blake. Friend of the channel, friend of the podcast.
Yeah.
It's obviously straight line speed, high speed corners,
I'll put it there corners. For you, and you can like really have it all there. What do you find most interesting about this? Again, Blake did a video with Autosport, really good video. Check it out. And yeah, he's gone through kind of, this is based on like qualifying pace.
Yeah.
And then like kind of straight line speed, high speed cornering, medium speed cornering, low speed cornering.
Yeah, I think the obviously the most interesting thing is the fact that Red Bull are top of everything.
Yes,
like literally everything. There is no weakness.
Categories.
All four categories. There is just a purple line at the top of boom. Here's where Red Bull are. Straight line speed, they are miles clear of everybody else. I mean, we talk about the Williams being a rocket ship in a straight line, and to be fair, they are third. They match with Ferrari in terms of straight line speed. But they're still nowhere near Red Bull in terms of straight line speed. And obviously we talked about DRS. We'll come on to that in a little bit. Red Bull's DRS advantage is so strong. The car is just so slippery in a straight line. But then on top of that, high speed corners top, medium speed corners top, and low speed corners top as well. It's grim. Because a lot of people have talked about like whether we could, stunt them a little bit. And we've seen in the past where there's been like little regulation changes that come in and just, we're just like raising the level of the floor slightly, not for any reason in particular. We just kind of want to do it, guys. But in reality, they're just trying to hurt the team that's at the top and just try and close the field. You can't do that when Red Bull are best at everything.